Good day, everybody. Welcome again to Camglish.com. I'm Angel, and I'll be your teacher today in the book Essential Grammar in Use, 3rd edition by Raymond Murphy. Studying grammar is very necessary for us to come up with good, right sentences. Now, this is the second part of our video under the topic passive. Okay, passive voice or passive forms of sentences. In our previous video, we talked about what is passive sentence. Alright? Passive sentence, the subject of the sentence is the receiver of the action. Alright? And we discussed how to make sentence using am, is, are plus past participle and was or were then past participle. Right? Present simple. When your be verbs, okay, when your be verb is am or is or are, then add past participle to make it passive sentence. When it's past simple, you have to just add was or were. Was if you have am or is converted to past tense, and were for are converted to past. Then after that, past participle. And I did promise that I will show you list of verbs that can help you, right? Especially irregular verbs. Okay. The past participle of regular verb is ed. That is the regular verbs. Okay, that's for regular verbs. We usually see that the past participle of regular verbs end with ed. Like cleaned, damaged, cooked, like that, right? Baked, and many other verbs. But when we say irregular verbs, irregular past participle, alright? When we say irregular past participles, these are the kind of verbs that we can see. Done, built, taken. Now for us to understand how to make past participle, we first have to know the base form of irregular verbs. Now I'm gonna show you just, okay? This is list of irregular verbs. Base form is awake. This is example. Awake, awoke for simple past tense, and awoken for past participle. Okay? Students, I do encourage you to familiarize yourself with these irregular verbs because it's very important for you to come up with the right passive sentences. Not just passive sentences, but in many other rules, okay, in grammar. So you really have to know past participle, okay? Now, what is the base form of be? It's be. Simple past, was or were. Was if it's only singular, and were if it's plural. Then been. Okay? Was if your subject is singular, were if it's plural, then past participle of be is been. Okay? We call these irregular verbs because they don't end. They just don't end with ed or d to be in the past form. Okay? That's why they are called irregular verbs, and we have to memorize their past participle because they always change in spelling. Okay? Now, if you have time, you can study all these and memorize. Alright? Okay, so let's now go back to our book. Now, I have here examples of passive sentences. Past passive and present passive. Alright? Let's read example. And you can follow me if you want. Butter is made from milk. This is passive form. It's in passive form. When it's in active form, you can say milk makes butter. Right? Next sentence. Oranges are imported into Britain. That is in its present passive form, right? When we make it active, it will become Britain imports oranges. Again, Britain imports oranges, right? Now, I give you just exactly what we needed to understand active from passive sentences. Now, let's read the remaining sentences, okay? How often are these rooms cleaned? How often are these rooms cleaned? I am never invited to parties. This house was built 100 years ago. These houses were built 100 years ago. If you notice, in these two sentences, we use the past simple was, right, instead of were, because we only have here house as our subject. It's only one, so we used was. And then the past participle of our verb, build, it became built. That's why it became passive sentence, right? Now, in the second sentence, we use were for our past simple because we have here houses. The word houses, it's more than one. The rule is we also have to get plural or make plural form of verb, right? Now, these houses were built 100 years ago. Houses plus were because there are many houses, and then were, then past participle of build, which is built. Okay? Next one. When was the telephone invented? We weren't invited to the party last week. Was anybody injured in the accident? Yes, 2 people were taken to the hospital. If you notice, our verb here is injured. It's just regular verb. Injure is just a regular verb, right? While in this sentence, our verb here is irregular, which is take, and the past participle is taken. That's why we should be careful when it comes to putting the right participle. Alright? And we should know what are the irregular verbs. Okay? Now, we used were because we have here 2 people as our subject. Alright? I hope you will not forget that. Now, let's have another one. This is another pointer to remember. Use a were, was, were, plus the word born. Okay? Let's have first sentence. Let's read it. I was born in Berlin in 1989. I was born in Berlin in 1989. It will not be I were born or I am born. Okay? Alright, because we have here I. We use was there because our pronoun is I. And we use were. We use were because we have here you before the word were. The past form of was. Past form of are. Alright? Oh, sorry about that. Where were you born? If you notice, you have here the subject, you, pronoun, and even though it's for one subject, you are still going to use were. Okay? Like in present form, instead of using is, we use are. So we will use were. Okay? Now, let's talk about the word preposition by being added to our sentence. Okay? Our passive sentence. Using by is optional. Okay? When you make your sentence into passive form. Alright? Always remember that you should first put the thing receiving action, after that the be verb, the past participle of verb, and you can use by if you want, and the thing doing the action. Alright? Now let's read the example sentences. The telephone was invented by Alexander Bell in 1876. I was bitten by a dog a few days ago. By, add emphasis to our passive sentence. Alright, so I think that will be all for our lesson today. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.